I'll start recording. Okay, welcome to Twisted Lies Tell the Truth. And here I am today with Bill, a scientific author. Hello, Bill.
Hello, how are you doing, Angel?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, I'm wide awake, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to face the day.
So here we go. These I'm gonna ask you some questions from on this interview. For this interview is for like all authors that I interview that was inspired. I will ask them how what inspires them to become authors and how their journey is going so far.
Okay, ask away.
All right. Question one: what made you become an author?
Because I didn't want to be a serial killer. I've been writing for a long time. I wrote nonfiction for rock and roll magazines, and then I wrote a sports blog. I liked writing. I like being able to communicate with words. I know that sounded redundant, but I like being able to tell stories. I like being able to get people immersed in something they may not be aware of. And then after my divorce, back in 2010, I was going through a real tough time, and I decided I had all these little fiction stories I'd never done anything with, and I decided to start writing them. And in 2011, a company called Bewildering Stories started printing them, publishing them, and one thing led to another, and here I am writing science fiction all the time.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's wonderful, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Question two:
Mm-hmm.
do you design your own covers?
I have designed my own covers, but for the latest round of the Brittle Riders, they were done by a guy named Ian Bristow. I just wanted to take them up a notch, make them a little more professional. Um, I do graphic design sometimes for websites and stuff like that, but that's not the same as coming up with complete covers and everything on your own.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Okay, cool. All right, that's great, man. I'm the designer myself, so I used to be, unfortunately. Days have passed. Um, Question three: who is your favorite idol that supports you in your writing and future?
Well, the person who supports me is my wife, Kim. She's been there since the day we met. She's been cheering me on. It's kind of one of those weird things. It's like I met this person. I went, oh, I'm going to marry that one. And I eventually did. It took me 6 years, but I got to it. Um,
Congratulations.
but like my favorite author, I would have to say is David Brin. Um, he's kind of the opposite of me. He always finds the good news and stuff. He always finds the happy point and stuff. And in his well, to talk about him, if you write him or if you have questions for him, he will respond, and he's always very good about responding. He's very good about talking. He's very good about supporting other authors, and just he's someone that I like. I like his books. The Uplift Wars series is one of my favorite series of books ever, and partly responsible for partly responsible for the Brittle Riders. As someone once said, if David Brin came off a tequila bender and dropped acid, he would have written the Brittle Riders. That's kind of what it's like. It's like him, but very, very different.
Okay, this is totally off of the questions. If you met your ideal today, what would you say to him?
Well, I buy him a drink because that's the gentlemanly thing to do. And I happen to know he drinks, so
That's awesome. That's also cool. Where would you like to see your writing career go?
I mean, obviously, I'd like it to be stable enough that I never had to worry about money again. It's getting there. Um, I don't know. I don't need to be famous. I don't need to be the guy who goes, "Do you know who I am?" It's not how I'm wired. I'd like my career to go so more people could read it and enjoy it, and like I like to say, play around in my squishy little mind. Um, I think like what any author wants, you want people to be able to read your stuff and you want people to enjoy it. And I put a lot of work into my writing. I don't just write it and throw it up on Amazon or something. I write it, we get it edited, then we go back through it again, then we do beta readers. I put a lot of work into my craft, so I want people to because I want people to enjoy it. I want them not to be thinking about typos or mistakes or anything. I want them to actually enjoy the story I've written. So hopefully one day I'll be, if not famous, at least secure. I'll take that.
Fifth question. How
Mhm.
did you feel when your first book was published?
Ah, that was surreal. Because I don't self-publish. I actually shopped it around and found someone to publish it for me. Um, seeing it come out was one thing. When I saw that it was in Walmart, just the weirdest chain possible to hold my book. There it was in Walmart. You could buy my book at Walmart, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm a real author now!" You can go pick up some pee pads and Bill McSciFi. Just get it all in one place.
Cool. Awesome. I might get your book, by the way. I haven't read it yet. Well,
Well, there's plenty there to choose from. The Brittle Riders is a trilogy. Gopri of the Mist is the sequel to the trilogy. So I don't know how that works. Um, then I had a bunch of short stories out, and then I'm in a bunch of anthologies. If you go to my website, you can knock around. And I got a bunch of comic books out. Legends Parallel, the fourth one
oh,
issue is
you like
coming.
comics?
Yeah, I write comics.
Oh, I love comics. I read them every day, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Legends Parallel. It's the comic for people who think science, quantum physics isn't violent or sexy enough. We fixed that. Actually, I'll tell you a fun story. Southern Illinois University, one of the teachers down there, uses Legends Parallel, my comic, to introduce people to quantum physics is a realistic quantum physics. So it's not this crazy multiverse stuff that you get from Marvel and DC, but actually how would a multiverse really work? And it was pretty entertaining. It's kind of a high compliment. And she's like, but I like her comment too. She goes, well, it's got boobs in it, and I like boobs, and it's got a lot of real science in it, and I teach science, so there, it covers all my needs. It's like there you go.
Nice. Oh, so this one's totally off the road there, because like me, I'm all for myself. Do you go? This is what one of I personally and actually my friends say. Do you go straight? Like, do you do detail in your? If you did like a scientific romance, would you go very detailed into the romance scenes?
But there's not a lot of romance in my book, but the scenes that are there, I keep them realistic. I probably don't spend. It's not like I'm going to take pages and pages and pages and oh, she walked breathily into the room, her gentle heaving breath. No, I don't do that, but I do get into it a little bit. Uh, you know, in one scene in the Brittle Riders, where Ryun and Nalea finally just throw all the inhibitions off and take after each other. That's a relatively graphic scene, and a lot of people love it. And one woman's husband, she said she had to hose him down after he read it, so that was a compliment. But yeah, I do get into it. It's just I'm not really a romance writer. I don't write erotica or romance. I mean, I write science fiction. And while certainly people in science fiction have relationships, and get into that, it's not the theme I ride throughout the book.
I see. Okay. Next question, sixth question.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take you to write your book?
Well, the very first issue of the Brittle Riders took me about 3 years between getting through pre-readers, getting editing. I had no one helping me then. I didn't, I had no support from a publishing company, and I wanted it to be as good as I could possibly get it, and so I put a lot of time in it.
Awesome. How many pages was that?
Um, all my books are around 100,000 words, so I think they're like 380 pages somewhere in there.
Question 7. How many chapters chapters
um,
so far?
in the Brittle Riders, there are no chapters.
Oh, maybe. Okay. What makes you get rid of writer's block?
What was that?
What do you get what how helps you get rid of writer's block?
How do I get rid of writer's block? Actually, somebody told me a long time ago, when you're suffering writer's block, write anything, write a grocery list, write a love letter to yourself, write something. And once you start, pen to paper, get things going again, write a blog, anything. Just get your mind out of the rut it's in, go somewhere, and then you can circle back and get back on your story. And it works. I use that trick all the time.
Okay, question 10. What do what do you do to inspire your readers?
What do I do to inspire my readers? I don't know about that one. I mean, obviously I share tidbits about the book and I share the process as it's going along. Um, I think that's probably the thing I guess I could say is as things are developing, I share bits and pieces with people so they have something to look forward to. And I know, at least for my fans, that seems to be something that they appreciate and enjoy. Um, when right now there's a company we've been talking with about maybe making the Brittle Riders into a movie or a streaming television show. And so I've been sharing that journey with my fans. And even if it doesn't happen, because I never say anything's guaranteed, but even if it doesn't happen, everyone's been around for the whole ride. And what's interesting is that people reach out to me with ideas to help me, to support me. And I keep them involved in my life, and I try and stay involved in theirs as much as I can. I've got a dedicated email address that's nothing there for nothing but the fans. So that, not the address I gave you, but it's a different one, and it's just for fans, and it's worked out perfectly. It's become a spot where I can interact with them and inspire them and keep them up to date on what's developing, so they know there's more McSciFi coming down the road.
Interesting. Has your mother read your book?
My mother passed away.
Oh, I apologize.
No
Sorry.
problem.
I said thingy question. I apologize. If you did a podcast today, what would it be called? What would you
The one thing in my life I've avoided like the plague is doing a podcast because I don't think I have anything that important to say. But I suppose if I was going to do it, I would tie it into my website and call it My Squishy Brain.
would you go on stage in front of the whole crowd to explain what's in your book?
I have done so, actually. Yes, I have. That's a lot of fun. Another author named Steve Silver here in Chicago, he writes nonfiction, but he and I have done some events together, and it's a lot of fun reading from the book, getting people involved in the book, and then I do conventions and I've done stuff at libraries where I read from the book. So yeah, I'll do that. I like doing that. It's fun.
Have you had your own book signing?
Yes, I have. I've done a couple of them, and I'm looking forward to doing another one this fall. So yeah.
Would you ever do a science fiction that's a very which would be good with a series?
What was that?
Would you do a science fiction series?
Series?
Yeah,
Well,
series in just like I'm doing now. I am writing a series for a 6 series book, novel book.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I don't think I would host something like this. I mean, it's fun being a guest, but the amount of work that goes into hosting, I actually envy you that you can put forth that kind of effort. I simply won't.
But it's a little bit. I'm trying to come out my comfort zone a bit. To be quite honest, I'm more. All right. Would you do the actual book, or would you do the visual books, like the like separate books after the book that you have actually, and like the characters, the separate characters and their own backgrounds?
I've actually done a little bit of that with the Brittle Writers. I've had character drawings done, um, and I've done pitch sheets with each individual character having their little biography on it. Um, I haven't thought about trying to turn the whole book into a comic or anything like that, or even a graphic novel, um, just because I think it's way too much work, and I don't have enough money to hire someone. And I be really blunt here. My graphic, if I draw something, my stick figures look like they have a disease. So I'm not the artist I'm going to hire.
If you had three wishes, what would they be and why?
If I had what?
If you had three wishes, what would they be?
Ah, three wishes. I think for one, I'd wish for good health. I That seems to be eluding me. Um, I'd wish my wife and I could live wherever she wanted. Someplace where she could be happy. Um, and I don't know what the third one would be. Um, I get, let's see, good health, nice place to live, uh, reasonable amount of money to live on. I don't need to own the world.
Okay. If you had someone on Incut, if you want Incut, and you had a book on Incut, and someone wrote something, and they said your book is horrible and really awful, what would you say to them and why?
Well, there's a real world example to that. I had someone send me a review on one of my short stories. He said it was a waste of 4,000 words. And then another company bought it and turned it into a hit, and it became a bestseller on Amazon. So I don't worry about that. I mean, some people like my stuff a lot, and that's cool. And some people think I'm a scourge and should be, eliminated from the human race. And I don't worry about that kind of stuff. As long as I don't attack my family personally or something like that, I don't care. Like it or don't like it, go on.
I bet you took one look at that and says, "Oh crap." All right. Hmm. Would you like to turn your stories into movies?
Like I said, we're actually working on that right now. I would be fascinated to see this to come to life. The Brittle Riders is such a unique world. Um, it's really not like anything else that's out there, and that's good news. It's unique and it's new. The bad news is it's unique and it's new, and Hollywood doesn't normally go for really unique stuff. Um, but I found some people who have made money making real movies, and they've taken a shine to it. So we're seeing what's happening. We actually just finished putting together a promotions kit to go talk to investors, and we'll start doing that next month. So see what happens. I no guarantees, but it's interesting to come this far.
How how do you get your ideas for your characters? What name and where do you get their names from? What into films, stories, or like when you read other people's novels, or do you go out into the fresh air, like go to the park, or any scenery?
I get my ideas from people I meet and stuff I meet, and just exaggerated a little bit. I used to tour with bands, so that sounds really exciting until you're sitting in a bus for 12 hours a day, going from place to place. Um, your mind starts to wander, and one of the things I used to wonder is what if cows could get weapons and take over the world, or what if dogs could talk and stuff like that, and just started playing with ideas, and then the characters themselves, the characters are based on people I know, people I like or people I don't like, doesn't matter. Um, so I get a lot of inspiration from the real world. While I've sometimes get inspired by other books, it's not often. Because I mean, someone else wrote that, cool, that's their idea, and I go do something else and write my idea.
Mm.
Um, but the ideas themselves, they come from almost anywhere. If I'm there, I'm getting an idea, whether I'm in church or I'm at a restaurant or, just out at a family function. Odds are, if I've met you, I'm going to write about you some way or another. You're going to end up in one of my books.
Okay, this is a critical. This is what happens to most people. If you had an editor that says, "Oh, I want you to let me publish your book, and I'll give you $5,000." Would you and everyone's all your friends say, "Oh no, 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 it's a scam." What would you do?
Well, that is a scam, so I wouldn't do it. You know, there, I know what editing costs. I know what other things are, and I certainly am not going to sell my book for that little money. I make more than that selling it. We make more than that selling it in stores. So no, that is not something I would do. I've been lucky. My publisher has been straight with me from day one about what this is and that is. We shop around for editing. We work on different things, and we have a very good relationship. And so I would not let my book go for that kind of money, and I certainly am not going to pay that kind of money to have somebody edit it.
This is what happens naturally to a lot of people, and I know people and designers get very, very upset with this because every person thinks that they can steal all each of the people's work and use it as their own. So the question I'm asking you is, what would you do to protect your work and your ideas of your book?
Well, the nice thing about my stuff is that there's nothing else like it on the planet. So if someone started stealing it, it would be obvious really quick. And then that's what lawyers are for. This is a true story. When I first released The Brittle Riders, a company in Russia bootlegged the Kindle version. And they sold like 30,000 copies in Russia for twice what we were selling them for here in America. And then because my stuff is pro LGBTQ, IA plus, and pro racial equality, I was deemed to be a threat to the Russian government. So I'm banned in Russia for a book that I never released there. But there are 30,000 fans in Russia reading my stuff. So there you go.
Okay. What would you do if your story got your cover got stolen and they were using your cover for their novel?
That would be an instant call to a lawyer. I wouldn't even mess with them. They would feel the wrath of God come down on them because I'm very protective of my works and the people who work with me. I would not let their stuff get stolen.
Mm-hmm. If you had an event and event you went to and you won $50,000, where would you go and why?
Well, my wife's been wanting to go to England, so I think I would take my wife to England and see the sights over there. I was there in the '80s, but a lot has happened since then, so it's fun to go again.
Ooh. If a foreign country says, "Oh, I love your book. I want to buy have a like copy," what would you say to them and why?
Well, I'd say yes. Actually, that's already come up. The Brittle Riders is available now in 12 countries, and we just work out licensing deals with them. They're not big money things, but they're a way to get to a bigger market, to a different market. Because of that, I have a fun fan club in Japan. I have no idea why they're reading the Brittle Riders, but there they are. God love them. Um, and got another fan club in England for the same thing. Um, it's I'm fine with that. If they ask and they're not stealing, then yeah, I'm all for it. So, yeah.
Okay. Would you ever join a writing WhatsApp group?
A writing what kind of group?
WhatsApp? What?
WhatsApp? No, no, I want nothing to do with that app. Too many people can scam you on that once you get on there. It's just, I mean, I know it's popular, but it's also because it's so privacy oriented. It's a really good home for scammers and con men, con women. So no, I got enough social media in my life now as it is. I don't need that.
Okay. I've been actually told because everyone says actually to design your own covers and for everyone saying, "Oh, go with Fiverr." Would you go with Fiverr?
For artwork, no. There's some good people on Fiverr. I'm not dismissing that, but I shop for art that I'm looking for, and like with the Brittle Riders, I saw Ian's work on a few other things, and that's what I wanted. So I worked out a deal with him. For Gopri of the Mist, I did do the design myself, but actually I did the design as a mock-up, and my publisher liked it so much that's our design. We went with that for the cover. Sometimes you get lucky, Um, for other things I've worked on, I know everybody's been very careful about who they hired for cover art and stuff like that. Um, I don't know Fiverr well enough to say no completely, but I tend to look for artists like Deviant Mind or some of those places where you can just punch in science fiction and find 40, 50, 100 people. It's easier that way.
Would you travel the world?
I have.
Selling your book and giving autographs.
Oh, I would love to do that. That would be wonderful. I've traveled the world playing bass, and that was not nearly as emotionally satisfying as it would be to travel the world signing autographs. So yeah, I would love to do that.
How do you develop your characters? Do you start off with the world and start mapping up or do the brainstorm of each and every character, or do you just write the story and then develop the characters as we go along?
Uh, Kind of yes is the answer to that. Um, for the Brittle Riders, I had an idea of the world I wanted, and then I started thinking what kind of characters would be in it. And I originally wrote the book in the '90s, and it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Um, it had the sword of truth, the shield of power. It was one cliche after another. Um, but when I started getting published in 2011, I happened to find my notes on that book, and I realized I had the germ of a story there. So I took like five characters that became the titular characters, and I narrowed the villains down to two instead of 13. I think I had originally, and I started building a world around them. I like these people; these were interesting characters. My usual rule of a character is: would I go out and have a drink with this person? Could I be comfortable being in a room with them? And if the answer is yes, I start really building them out. They're my protagonists. And then for my antagonists, my running rule of thumb is: would I call the cops on them the second I saw them? And when I get to yes, those are the guys I work on to make guys and gals I work on to make my villains. Um, but I kind of have a rough idea of the world, but I populate it first. I want the people to be in there because then I can figure out, what color the sky is, what color the grass is, so on and so forth. I can start developing the scenery around them. But for me, I have to have interesting characters first.
Oh, cool. Okay. Do you have you got which one is your best villain ever? Because I've in a lot of books actually I've seen they start off with the villain that it's she's good and then she turns bad at the end. You develop him to just be bad, he or she, or do you just have him to be a good person and then he turns back? Oh, shit.
My villains are a little different. In the Brutal Riders, Jacnar and Yantar are the villains, and they were genetically created to be world killers, world super soldiers. And Jacnar and Yantar are both mentally defective in the sense that they have real ego issues. Jacnar's a megalomaniac, and Yantar's a bit of a nihilist. So in this case, my villains were created in a vat. In Gopri of the Mist, however, I have a villain there. I don't want to give away too much because the villain's actually a big part of the reveal, a big shock when you figure out who it is. But the villain there started out as an okay person and could have had a normal life, but their mother was very weird, very controlling, very manipulative, and my villain just slowly spirals out of control until they become a killer and serial killer, and eventually into a world killer. And that's an interesting journey for them to go on. And I really can't say too much more about it because it's like the whole first half of the first book of Gopri of the Mist leads up to who this person is. I don't actually reveal it until way into the book. And I had people write me angry emails that was like, "How could you do that? How could you do a villain like that?" Oh, because it's a shock, and it's meant to be. But as to villains, I get a little tired of the villain with a heart of gold kind of thing, or there's good in all of us. There's not good in all of us. I've met people there's no good in them at all. They may wrap it up in religious stuff or moral stuff or whatever, but they're just evil people. And it isn't that evil is moo ha ha kind of stuff. It's more the banality of evil, that they're just evil for evil's sake. They hate for hate's sake. So I've bent my villains a little bit more on people that we are stuck with in the real world. Live with them.
I I've actually been like writing actually all myself. I've heard actually people saying how like they have characters and have sad backgrounds. Do you write them people the characters with sad backgrounds and have tragic pasts? Or...
Yeah, I do try and give my characters background. Even if I have a minor character in the story, I'll add in their background because I don't like having a character just pop in and pop out for I need a character to do this in one scene. I won't do that. That character will have a backstory and it'll be interesting. And it's doing that sometimes leads me to write the character into a much bigger thing because once you start working on the backstory and you get their background together and how their life is different from yours, and you start putting all that together, it becomes fun, and it becomes a great way to then you start introducing bits and pieces of the character as the story goes along. So when the character is fully on the scene, people are expecting him or her. They know what they know enough about them that they're comfortable with that character. So yeah, I definitely put a lot of backstory stuff into my characters.
I know actually people like the fairy tales today. Everyone says, "Oh, happy," people say, "Oh, they live happy ever after." Do you believe that? Is in stories that everything has to be happy ever after?
No, no, I don't. I mean, the Brutal Rider starts with the death of every man, woman, and child on the planet, and then it gets a little dark and weird. There are happy points in it, and there are bright points in it, but I don't think happy ever after would be the phrase I would look for there.
Okay. Oh, got 2 more questions because it's going down quick the time. Sorry. If you had this is what I said to one of my clients last time. If you had a book that that's deadline was 1 week, and it was bestseller, and the other one was 2 weeks, and it wasn't that good, which one would you do first?
Well, I do the 1 week one first, whether or not it's a bestseller. If I've given my word to get something in on such a time, then that's when I get it in.
when was your first fan? When did you get your first fan for your books?
When did I get my first what?
Fan.
Fan. Um, actually, my very first fan came when I was writing for Bewildering Stories. A young lady got my email and started emailing me, and she was just fascinated with some of the world stuff I created. It wasn't anything, improper or weird, um, but she just really was into what I wrote. And it was my first time realizing that my words could affect someone I'd never met. I had no idea who this person was. I didn't know what they looked like. I didn't know where they went. I didn't know if they liked, Chinese food or Mexican food. I knew nothing about them, but my writing had affected them, and that was a very powerful message to learn.
Cool. This is gonna be my last, hopefully, two questions.
Mhm.
If you had um a place where you wanted to go that inspires you to write, where would you go?
Right where I'm at, inside a house with nobody around me. I used to write in libraries because it was really quiet and I could just sit and be quiet by myself. But now that I'm married, I have my little spot here at home where it's quiet and I can write by myself. And then I can kiss my wife because she works from home. So that's kind of bonus too. I like that.
Oh,
I like kissing my wife. Um, but yeah, I really prefer solitude when I'm writing. I'll have some music on in my headphones, and I just, my wife jokes that when I'm writing, a bomb could go off and I wouldn't notice it because I'm writing. I'm busy. I really get into my world.
hmm. What kind of description do you do in your world? Do you add robots? Do you add like effects, kind of like explosions going?
I try not to do that kind of stuff. I think if I say the bomb exploded, that people know what that means. I don't have to go, the bomb exploded and went boom. They don't need that. Um, the and some sounds people get the squishy sound of a knife pulling out of a throat. That's a noise people get. I don't have to get too elaborate with it.
I've been told actually some people put clingy lines into their stuff to, what as they say, to make it more authentic. That's what they say. Would you do that?
No, no, I think my stuff reads as authentic as it's gonna get, and I don't think I need to put in little teasers or anything like that to keep the audience interested. And based on the responses we've gotten from my writing so far, um, people get it and they like it and they say nice things about it. And we'll, I don't look to do tricks. I write pretty much from the heart, and hopefully people keep reading it.
All right. Last question. Would
Mhm.
you would you if someone actually wanted to sign you today to publishing, well, you publisher, but another contract, would you do it?
I would certainly look at it. I like the publishing company I'm with, but I'm an adult. If somebody comes with a really good offer or something, I would certainly look at it.
Oh, wow, that's one. Thanks a lot, Bill, for being on my podcast.